All right, final series of the day. This is the last set of teams to either go home or make it through. We've got G2 versus BLG. G2 looking very, very shaky at times, very aggressive. I like that they're asking a lot of questions of their opponents, but it's turning into a little bit of a coin flip at this level. There's not enough of a player diff available. Yike especially has been making some questionable decisions. We'll see whether or not we can improve that. Going into the draft, we've got Nico, Callista, Rakan, Draven, Jarvan, Oriana. Now, I'm very surprised that Rakan gets banned over here. Normally, that's something you'd want to do on the third stage if you wanted to make sure that you were picking Maokai and not giving it up. Going through the draft, you do get the Maokai. They end up picking up Sejuani and Xayah. I don't think Xayah is actually that good by herself. Now, she is a very good disengaged champion. We'll see later how that ends up pairing up. But it goes into Kog'Maw Braum, who is going to trump any amount of like front to back fighting that's going to go on. Braum, one of the best front to back supports in the entire game. Kog'Maw, one of the best front to back carries in the entire game. So you're going to be able to rip in. Also, we have a little bit of poke to go along with the Maokai. Jax is the question that gets posed at R3. What are you going to do on the rest of the picks here? They ban Renekton and Azir. And we see that matched with Bard and Alistar. Bard saying, all right, you know, you guys might choose to just lose the lane since Braum is basically going to win any lane he wants. Also a hard counter to the Xayah. We end up seeing Milio picked as another disengaged champion. Jace Poppy available. Poppy having some synergies here, not as many as you would have liked, and as what you would have had with Talia on your team. But they say that's okay. Talia goes over to red side. So again, we're going to have one of these games where Weaver's Wall needs to be used in the right sort of pinch for Sejuani and Jax to be able to slam in and create some threat. The problem is that that spell is completely at odds with what these two champions are trying to do as far as disengage. If we do look at front to back fight though, big fat Sejuani in the way. We've got Jax holding up the counter strike, Milio giving the extra range to his carry. So there is some windows where they could play front to back, but they're just never going to be favored into a front to back, especially with the poke of Kog'Maw and Jace. I think G2 has a pretty good draft for themselves, but we'll see what goes on in the game. Let's check it out. All right, before we get into the game, I want to take a moment to say thank you. All right, you guys are being awesome as supporters of the channel. We have almost 1,000 new subscribers. So when we hit that mark, we're going to be doing a giveaway at the Academy. 10 hours. You can use it however you want, whether or not you want macro, micro, performance psychology, or whether or not you want to give it away to friends. You can work with your Clash team, whatever you want. We're here for you. All you need to do is like, subscribe, and comment on one of the videos at Worlds. And anyone who's done. All right, we've got a Cloud Dragon going first. Thank goodness the sound is off because I cannot sit down this skin. Every once in a while, I turn sounds for my champions back on. And, you know, there's some of them where it's worth it. It's nice. There's some really funny things that they do. They say some wonderful things. It makes the game kind of way more fleshed out. But all it takes is one game against a Meowric or a Puppy Kog'Maw, and I just can't do it. It's just... oh man, it is too much. Anyways, look at this build. Dagger into 4. All right, going for the attack speed, saying I deal more damage with my W. They are threatening for big all-ins. Ghost, Kog'Maw with Dagger, plus you have Braum, means that they're going to be looking for these kills. They're going to try to punish the window where Milio puts his spells on cooldown. Very, very long cooldowns on Milio. We'll see whether or not Hansama is able to punish. Oak using Q for a little bit of harass, gets bullied off the wave. The early ward being dropped here in the bush usually is an indicator that you want to fight back for the wave. Investing this means that you want to play for bush control and try to get that win for yourself. Braum poke always going to be more impactful than Milio poke. We'll see whether or not Hansama is actually able to get anything off for himself. Like he activated the W, but only got the one auto attack off. Kind of bizarre. Yike being spotted on the blue buff means Sejuani will have perfect information about the path. Mickey is about to proc the stun over here. We have a 1v1 and a 1v1. Supportal combat down here. Carry's going over here. This is normally not the formation that you want to get. You want to have front to back threat together. Of course, there's a certain amount of pass-through damage that you're trying to avoid when you're fighting against Xayah. But they end up seeding the bush. This will be okay for them, whether or not they choose to dive with Maokai when he does show up, or whether or not they just try to hold a freeze while Maokai's in the vicinity. We'll see what they end up opting for. Talia gets a ward on Raptors. So red team will be the first to get full tracking of Maokai. Not really necessary though, because they already had this one. So probably just didn't even need to be out there. We'll get a heads up whether Maokai tries to path this way. If you are playing against BLG though, and you see that they're playing this ward, the best way to your red buff is to do this, right? And then Talia will have to respect the fact that you might be nearby. All right, red team is proccing. They're saying the approximate whereabouts of Maokai. Now, Maokai is actually taking Krugs rather than red. He wants to play for the respawns on the camp. This is something that's important if you want to hit your fast level 6s. Kog'Maw and Braum playing very far back. Now we have Campfire going forward as well. The shield comes up a little bit late. You can only block the feathers. They'll drop right in front of you. You can also block the pass-through on the far side. But Milio combining the spells with the Xayah harass. So they're using a lot of resources to try to get this push in. Now Kog'Maw could take it back here, and then Braum could protect the wave. They have Maokai to hold pressure for themselves. You see that they dropped this ward in the tri-bush before they went for the all-out push. But now that they have it, the question is whether or not Kog'Maw decides to try to stay. He's already used all 4 potions, guys. All 4 of them are gone. And at this point, you're wondering, was it worth it? Milio harass, taking aim as well, right? Joining in on the fun here. The more you harass, the more you can get your spell thief procs, etc. They do wait till the 4-minute wave to try to get their recall off. Maokai's already made his way to the top side. No, they're not even going to go for it. They're saying, all right, no, we have to fight back. We need to try to get more resources for us. Probably means that we don't even have Berserker Greave money yet from Kog'Maw, which is sort of surprising. Probably means that he missed the cannon here. You do want to get that Berserker Greaves. It allows you to play offensively and defensively. You see how they're separating right here? Multiple instances. The same pattern has happened over and over. Milio just going to the bot side, hitting that Q right in the face of the Braum. Bin getting super aggressive up here. We might just have laner diff, guys. Control ward goes out. They do get the stun, which means Bin has exactly enough mana and time to go get that kill for himself. Poppy bites the dust. Losing lanes all over the place. Jace swapping between items, deciding for a moment whether or not he wants Merc Treads or if he wants Serrated Dirk. We've seen this from Jace's. They tend to benefit most from building their aggressive items early and often. They just need to keep up the tempo, otherwise they're just not a threat. And if you're not threatening, you're not using your kit, then you're potentially just giving up resources. Now you see Talia very happy to go into this trade for trade here, saying I've got a spammable Q that is way more damage than yours, and the fact that I can reposition it. Caps finally does get aggressive. Yagao probably did not need to flash. Maybe they didn't have information on Poppy yet, but Sejuani was there to peel off the Maokai. Visual stutter, a little bug arena. Poppy gonna try to find something here. Top lane's pretty screwed. Playing against Plated Steel Caps. Now, Plated Steel Caps, kind of interesting here. Versus Maokai, even the stun here, even some of Kog'Maw's damage, a big chunk of his damage, in fact, might have expected to see Merc Treads. You don't see Plated Steel Caps very often on Jax because the Counter-Strike just negates all effects of attacks. And later in the game, you basically have, 50% uptime on that spell. Good little sidestep from Hansama. He is going to get stunned. Not before he gets his flash off. Braum is able to peel just enough. Now this wave could come back. We'll see whether or not Elk decides to play for the freeze. We're going to see whether or not he uses his AoE. It looks like they're going to go for another sort of crash. No, they definitely just want to hold this here. Yike is trying to peel this, be ready in position. He's holding the aggro on the Krug just enough to keep on hitting, but he's in position right now to be able to answer Sejuani. Sejuani flashes forward. They're able to get that kill up in the front of the damage. Maokai knocks him back, but it's not enough. And G2 is getting clowned on in this laning phase right now. Honestly, they probably just had to cut their losses a little bit earlier. Buy the Berserker Greaves on that 4-minute cannon. Just take the loss for what it is. Come back only missing 2 of the melees maybe and the cannon. You'd be able to pick up the rest, and then maybe you can rebound, shove that wave in, and just turn this into a seesaw. Right, what you want to do when you're this far behind, you want to turn this lane into a seesaw where you shove and recall. Enemy team never wants you to get back into the game, so they tend to shove and recall as well, or they stack up, crash, shove, and recall. Either way, you're just constantly saying, all right, I'm getting back in the game. I've bought more items. That asks your opponent, Are you willing to stay here with us being even again, undoing all the wins that you've had earlier, or are you going to recall again? Give this lane less total gold. Some minions get lost here and there, and it makes it more about the other lanes. It will especially affect the Jace to be the strongest here. Q flash. Braum was not quite in position. We're able to get that for himself, and no real repercussions. So if you're G2, you're trying to just get this to be a pendulum lane. Back and forth, back and forth. You don't want to spend any extra time here if you don't need to. Broken Blade getting a little bit nervous here too. Puts up his W. I don't think he did it in response to the Q. Yeah, just late. Right, like this needs to come up. Use it at the same moment. It means he's too late to hit the proc. Jax gets his single-sided trade-off. Now, Poppy is going to continue to be strong as this game goes on. She's very comfortable scaling into Jax, saying, I'm, decent against this champion. Yes, he can put up Counter-Strike, but my Q1, if he decides to stay on me while the Counter-Strike is resolving, then he'll get hit by Q2, and it's just as if I had been hitting him all along. Can also buffer the spell. You can also reposition him, bop him against the wall sometimes, and you can always use your W to stop the jump to make sure that he's not able to gap close. Now, big proc, Grasp plus Sheen being used early and often. Every chance that he gets, he's using that. We see Poppy doing the same thing with her passive. Sheen using a spell on the wave, stacking up the Sheen as the passive is coming back up, and then walking up and getting a hit. So you get that Sheen proc, you get the Grasp proc. The question will be, is it enough, right? Poppy, just a tremendous champion, has wonderful kit for the environment, all the dashes that exist in the game now, right? Poppy is going to be super, super strong. It seems like she's just aging very, very well. But the problem is going to be this explosive bot lane, right? The fact that Xayah is this much ahead is a problem. All right, here we go. The rocks are thrown out. We see Zun sidestepping, then coming back in. Jace's power here with the serrated dirk means he's feeling fairly strong. They cannot continue this fight, though, because you see Elk is positioning on the back of the fight, so good awareness there. Kog'Maw's first one back on the wave. Now check out this ward that they've gotten for themselves. It doesn't see much, but it's in position. All right, they can see whether or not they have the support of a Maokai with a ward like that. Now, will they feel okay to step up for the wave? Kog'Maw resorting to using the ultimate caustic, whatever it's called. It's not caustic spittle. I think that's the Q. Now, something about Kog'Maw, the winningest build in solo queue is actually just putting points into these two. Now, the E has been buffed multiple times to make it so that that's not the case. It used to be such a huge mana sink and very little effect. Now they've turned it more into like a 1-point wonder, but still the winningest play across all ranks and even in high ELO and across all ranks is to go just WQ, just adding the extra attack speed here. Plus it has the armor shred, means that you don't need anything more besides the rage blade. And you just never cast the E, that way you don't run out of mana, because if you're casting E, then the R also costs a lot of mana as you start stacking up the casts. Chunk there by Jace, and you end up running right? And if you're then you're not a threat. Absolutely, you need to be able to have access to that W, and specifically if you hit a Q, that is the difference between winning and losing those trades. Now, as this lane phase continues, right, we did see a cull picked up because Xayah's like, holy shit, like this is easier than I thought. I can push this whenever I want. They're not even trying to fight me back. So I'm going to pick up Cull and try to aim for that 2-item spike a little bit earlier in the game. Also, but just based on picking up Berserker Greaves, you're about 60 CS away from getting your first full item anyways. Let's see Jace coming on over. Going to make a play here, trying to get damage on Milio. Ends up not counting for anything. Costing, oh my goodness, the Kog'Maw hits it from downtown. Nice shot there by Hansama. Jace with a good rotation over, getting that extra speed boost. You see him flying through QE, then passing through the accelerated gate. Means he's able to get on top of them. Also has that phase rush. So with the three hits from the W, is able to stack that, get in position, jump on top, and get the kill onto Milio. We'll see whether or not that turns into positive momentum. Kog'Maw's getting it into a rage knife already, so we're very close to Ginsu's Rageblade. Zaya is going to be matching the pushing power by getting the Noon Quiver. She's going to be doing all that extra damage on the hit to the minions. Now, I might expect a rotation here coming for the dragon in 3 minutes. It's a ways away, but it's going to be after the plates go down. So we'll see whether or not we see Jax on the bot side of the map when that comes up. Sejuani finding a good angle here. Trying to play against Jace's aggression. Now, this is what we were talking about. Sometimes you see the Merc Tread, sometimes you don't before the completed item. Obviously, it feels very, very good this game. You're talking about a root here. You're talking about magic damage coming from this source, this source, this source. All of them have magic damage besides the Zaya, and they all have crowd control that can be negated, right? The stun from Talia, the everything but the knockback from the Milio. So take a look. Here's the teleport. That's why you put one of these wards a little bit deeper in the position. QE goes off, gets the auto attack, procs the phase rush, steps in, gets the Q denied to the skies, denied by the Q from Milio, but Hansama was able to find that angle. Oh, that feels really bad when you go up and you do it to place a control ward, right? So you really think that you're alone in the lane when you do that. End up stymieing the Herald as well, knocking back with multiple tools, using Sejuani, using Talia to throw it back, keeps it from charging. So you're getting nothing back if you're G2. This game feels real bad. Now, Kog'Maw, talking about feeling bad, Kog'Maw versus Jax is not a place you want to be. But Kog'Maw gets to use the full extent of his kit now. Oh, a flash for a stun? Gets the shield? No, could not get the shield. Ends up moving the wrong way. Doesn't actually get it. If you were able to get that, it would have been able to get that extra turret shot off onto Bin, and he would have died right here. But instead, he does not. Everything coming up roses for BLG here. 3 extra plates, extra kills, 3-0 on the Jax. This guy's going to be huge. It's going to be a huge problem for them. Now, we've spoken about it before, how Elk has been playing so well in this tournament and last year, and how Bin, it's a Jax meta, and Jax is his best champion, and he might be the best champion. So do you play towards Elk carry, or do you play towards Jax carry? Well, you can have them both be significant threats, obviously, but this is the best case where you have a champion that has a lot of self-peel, right? Zaya, not the most aggressive champion in the game, able to take care of herself, right? And by taking care of herself, she is still a carry. She isn't part of that position, but now you can leave Ben alone to go carry in moments where he feels like he can carry without giving much in return. Here we go. Broken Blade putting him next to the wall, gets that stun, gets the auto attack, but then moves the wrong way. If they had managed to get that shield, it's not like Draven, unfortunately. It's completely random. Draven can throw his axe. I wonder if they'll ever give that buckler the effect. Like most other spells in the game, Gnar, Draven, when you throw it and it has a landing spot, it's based on your move command, right? So Gnar, you throw your Q, or Draven, you throw the axe. As it's in the air, before it starts its turnaround, whichever direction you move is the direction it lands. And Poppy Buckler, just kind of random. Can have some feels good and some feels bad moments. Sometimes it lands right on top of you. Sometimes it goes in the opposite direction and you don't get it. And that's the difference between securing a kill and dying. Now, 2.5K gold lead, Herald being picked up. They're going to waste no time. They're going to put this straight mid because they're feeling the advantage right now, especially with this Kraken Slayer in the hands of Zaya. They're also potentially looking at this dragon. They're actually not dropping. I'm very, very surprised by it. It single-handedly would have taken down this turret. They want to have that. They also have the spike from the Zaya. Now, Maokai did threaten. He said, you guys can go get Herald. I'll go get Dragon. In response, BLG saying, no. We're going to fight you for Dragon. We're going to come straight over. We're not wasting any time. So not even dropping the Herald in mid lane, despite it being lethal there. Their whole team comes in. And honestly, if you're G2, you're not upset about this. The only thing that you'd rather have happen, though, like this is what you don't want. You don't want to have 2 people recalling in response to this play. You want to respond by shoving in this turret, gain control of this quadrant, and shove in this turret as well. Say, okay, we'll give up, or we'll put our tank down in the bot lane. Just play for the wave and the safety here. Let their team spend 4 people and resources here. We'll get the mid push, turn all of our vision into the northern quadrant, then rotate over and kill this. Instead, Kog'Maw and Braum take their recalls. Kog'Maw only backing for a dagger. Means that he's not strong enough to get anything here. Now, Jason to Jax is another matchup that you can look for. They ended up putting Poppy into Jax. thinking they would be pretty happy about it, but obviously, in hindsight, 35 CS and 3 kills on the Jax is a pretty substantial lead. Jace can also play against Jax, responding to the Jax jump by knocking him back. But then he's not in position to throw the accelerated shock blasts through the middle of the map, right? We'll see whether or not we get side-to-side wave management, whether or not we go for any amount of pushes. If you're G2, you need to find a way to break some structures, and specifically this one. This is going to be a thorn in their side. They've made very little progress on it, and Kog'Maw's behind, so he's never really going to have the pushing advantage against Xayah. Xayah's always going to be stronger there. Now, one of the things we talked about, how Poppy is normally very good with Taliyah because of the synergies. It's also good against Taliyah because of those same synergies. If we get a ill-fated Weaver's Wall out, then we might get Poppy bashing them into that, and that could be something that could change a fight. We also have the Braum Shield that can be used to cut it off. So normally you do that more when you're playing from ahead and you're thinking about, all right, what are the angles that Weaver's Wall could come in on? I can just block it here. Doesn't feel as good as blocking an horn, but it potentially stops Taliyah from making it to the backside of a fight if you get that sort of situation. And it can throw off a team synergy, right? If they're expecting Taliyah to show up at one spot and instead she gets knocked off at another, that could mean some amount of momentum for G2. Now, again, we're just like throwing control wards away. They're trying to hold on to vision in any little pocket. It looks like they want to center a fight around here, but Taliyah's going to be able to ride this wall. Ooh, actually doesn't take it all the way in, so they end up getting Yikes Flash. That's not a big deal, though. All of this pressure is amounting to Jax taking this turret. Jax is going to deal significantly more damage here. All right, inside out pushes going in. Every time that you see Xayah back, Milio's going back with them. They're trying to pick up their items together. Actually, call that one off. Can't imagine that she's sitting all the way on Navori Quickblades, although she's probably pretty close. $4K deficit. Where is the trap? What are you going to do? Well, Maokai Saplings, that's a start. You can get a little bit of poke. They do have the Demonic Embrace. They're going to try to get a little bit of a chip lead to start off these fights, but that's going to feel fairly meaningless when the all-out is just definitely going to favor the enemy squad. You've got the Radiant Virtue already in hand. Taliyah with the Weaver's Wall is going to make fights immediate. Xayah is getting very close to that Navori Quickblades, so they're going to stay ahead on these spikes at all times. It's going to be very hard for G2 to find any sort of pockets for themselves. Oh, there's one. Milio stepping forward, going face-checking into a bush, dies to a Jace. That has got to be miscommunication. They must have thought that they were sure that he wasn't there. With these words being laid down, they're like, oh, yeah, there's no way that Jace could be here. Well, it turns out that he's just been sitting there for a minute and catching you for going out. So we have a rare point of strength here for G2. We'll see what they turn this into. They may try to Geronimo and go for Baron right now, especially if enemy team puts any influence onto the dragon. So yeah, we have a pocket of vision. I like that the spectators have highlighted that. Probably Azael doing that. Now the call might be Jax solo the dragon and have 4 people hover the Baron. Yeah, so he was feeling good because the Q didn't hit, but Jace was sitting on the back edge right there. Beautifully done. Also had the backup of the sapling. Aptly done, because if Maokai's sapling were there, it would have alerted Milio and he would have stepped back. But because both of them were in the back left corner, that's the use of these bushes, right? Make sure you're going corner to corner. Use the full extent of the range of the bush. G2's opting for Dragon late. They're challenging BLG to make this the fight for the game right now. BLG correctly not answering. Actually, we're going to get a big chunk of damage up on Sejuani. It's never going to be enough, although Kog'Maw is the best Sejuani killer in the entire game. Even better than Vayne, because she doesn't need to get into short range to get hit by the Arctic Assault, right? Kog'Maw can do it from half a screen away, plus he can start ripping into them with the R as well. So they do get an Infernal for themselves. That's going to help Jace out a lot. Significant amount of poke. We'll see whether or not we get Gnasher's Tooth from Kog'Maw. We don't expect it to be there, but sometimes when they go trying to flip their damage profile, since right now he's one of the only sources of magic damage, like this is very little damage coming out from the Maokai. It is something, and Kog'Maw already deals something as well. But at times you want to see Gnasher's Tooth come out, deal more significant damage, use the ratios, especially the poke on the R and the E, right? The E actually deals significant damage. There's actually a build where you can go Ludens. You can go Tier, build Mirror Mana, and go for Ludens and Gnasher's Tooth with this champion. Kind of a fun solo queue build. You end up being super squishy, though. It doesn't really do anything for these games. But something you can do a little bit more casually. Caps stepping forward, trying to take Bin down while he can. Has the 2-item spike. Mirror Mana is completed. Poppy's separating the fight while Maokai ultimate is going off. Amelia's going to go off. He's going to use his ultimate to peel that off. Ult for ult. Flash down on Jax. They might feel pretty good in this game. This would be a huge come from behind win if G2 were able to swing this. See the saplings just littering the bushes. Sejuani is going to take them early as often as possible. Milio also shielding him, so it's not even permanent damage. You might see an eventual Warmogs come out here saying, you guys are going to be poking. I can shield. I can block all the poke, and then when I'm ready, I'll just start healing up. And when our team is trying to create any sort of objective, I'll be able to have that healing for myself. They say now's the time. We're going to bring it right now. They do have eyes on this. Yagao getting poked by the QE is a pretty big deal. Sun maybe should have just blocked that. They get the teleport for themselves. Maybe they're going for that as the prize. Now, the fact that they have 2 teleports and the fact that Jace and Poppy do not means that BLG could split the map up again. Hold on, we get an engage onto Caps. Using the Fog of War, the control, that red ward has been a huge part of their success here. You see the effect that Kog'Maw has, though. You got Braum, Maokai, Poppy sitting in front of you, and your name is Kog'Maw. You're just daring them, say, hey, like, how much damage you willing to take trying to chew through my front line, because I can outrange your carry. I can make sure that I'm threatening while they're not. Kog'Maw also dealing significantly more damage if those fights do break out. Runon's Hurricane you tend to see when there's 3 or more frontliners. You don't tend to see it that often when there's only 2. Also, Jax is looking generally to get a flank position. Might be able to completely ignore Runon's anyways. So you're really just talking about Sejuani. And if it's Sejuani, then maybe Phantom Dancer might have been better. You do want to have some amount of wave clear. It does take Kog'Maw a while to push waves if you're not using your mana. So it could just be a nod to that, saying, hey, this accomplishes a couple different things. Plus the extra move speed is just such a big part. Runon's Hurricane, probably the most underappreciated item in the game. That thing has a significant chunk of on-hit damage attached to it just by itself. Hold on, Caps being caught out on the solo lane. Is going to run out. Is the team going to press up onto Baron? He's running them into the alcove. So is there a chance for counterplay up here? Probably not. They're going to get mid-wave. They know that they've got about 15 seconds before Talia gets here. The ultimate is down. Jax and Talia have no ultimates. So they could actually play forward here. They don't have any meaningful vision advantage, though. They're trying to do it with the saplings. But this build, Radiant Virtue will never have enough. And basically, these are the 2 staple items for Maokai always, right? You're just never really concerned with trying to do anything else. Using the Lucid Boots for the haste. Extra flashes, extra ultimates. That's basically what you go for. Now, Braum's going to feel okay here, stepping in front. Kog'Maw is ripping into the team. They do get a control ward in the pit, so they've got good vision. Hansama ripping into them right now. That damage is getting fairly low. All right, Baron's down. The E is used to take it, though. That means that Xayah does not have an E. Potential for extra power there, but Jace does not have teleport. That's what we were talking about. Setting the map, pulling the map across. You go into 2 different directions. Jace goes off into the side lane. Talia goes and answers. They do a 2v1 to get that. There is no teleport answer from Poppy. And then because there's no teleport from Jace, he can't get back into the Baron pit, and they take that. So anytime you have that 2 teleport advantage, you can absolutely split that map apart, then engage on one of the people that goes to match you in the side lane because they don't have anything to answer with. And then you go back and then you dare them again. All right, are you going to bring everyone here? What if we send Jax to the bot lane again? We've got 4 versus how many are you going to send into the river? We can just control this space. You need to eventually send someone to answer the Jax. This is what they think they're doing right here, right? Caps is feeling pretty good about that wave until Weaver's Wall shows up. Looking at the fight here, I really would have preferred Braum to ult right here. It looks like they were trying to single out Yagao and maybe get some chunk damage, but absolutely would have preferred it to be right in front of the pit to create that huge slow field. Maokai tries to flash in, tries to get in, doesn't have enough arsenal or resources to get in. Had used the ultimate. They did have Radiant Virtue going off, but it's just not enough, and wallet diff. 7k gold lead, 3 dragons in tow. They're going to move up. I expect them to see adjacent lanes pushing. The dragon's not spawning for 4 minutes. That means that they're going to center on the opposite side of the map, right? So if this number is under 3, then you go on the same side, right? So under 3, you push this side. If it's over 3 minutes, you can go to the opposite side. The idea being that you want to take this down. You want to have the opposite side of the map inhibitor down as the dragon's spawning to make it as difficult as possible for enemy team to react to. So you see how they're creeping in. We have this very shallow line of wards. This is going to be moved up. We see one right here. So the team is putting a lot of effort into this. They're pushing mid and pushing top. Now they slide in here. They've got the sweeping lens. Plus you have Weaver's Wall, daring them to try to make any sort of play. I like that we're getting some amount of shallow wards here from G2 as a response, trying to get some action back. But meanwhile, they've left Xayah here with the cannon wave. Anytime that the entire team rotates away, that's your chance to go in and try to take out the wave. Hold on, Elk trying to go in. We got a Q peel from Milio. Milio saying, I am the alpha in the front to back battle. His attack range is OP. Baron is going down. They've only managed to get themselves the inners down. No actual base damage here. I mean, they got 2/3 of this one down, but if they don't break it, they don't expose this inhibitor, they might consider that a loss for themselves. G2 absolutely going to feel good about this. Now, this turret will heal back up to 1100 health. We're seeing Yagao go in. Nope, not even going with that one auto attack. It gets blocked by Braum. They see the engage. Oh, Poppy, that was a missed ultimate. You did not want to hit on that. You actually wanted your team to consolidate the damage right there. Elk dealing a significant chunk of damage. Poppy really wanted to get one of those carries knocked away so they could have engaged on the rest of the team. Instead, you just hit the Sejuani, which means that they just walk back in and there's no harm done. So 3 turrets is the Baron tax. They expand the lead to 9k. There's 2 minutes left on the spawn. Now you're going to start seeing the vision swap over, and they're going to go over to this side of the map. So check out this siege again. Yagao trying to get that hit onto the turret, but Braum actually blocking it. You deal all that damage, but it's nothing was getting through to Xayah. Only once Elk started stepping up and trying to rip into the rest of the team did they get any amount of damage left. This right here, they're going to start going for the push. You see Milio starting to secure vision. I actually don't like Sejuani going up here unless she's spiking a level off this. Tends to be a waste of resources to go over there. Milio's working his way in, trying to use Q. This is a point of danger, though. Jax was far away. Sejuani was far away. There might have been a window to punish Milio there as he's going for vision. Sees that he's having a little bit of a fight here for the battle. May go and try to even tank things like the saplings, just using the shield to tank the damage as best he can. Mini games here. The two of them just fighting. Xayah goes and picks up the red buff. Now she's going to go and ideally you slow push this wave, right? There's less than a minute left. You want to actually stack this wave. You don't want to just throw it back at them, because if you throw it back at them, you just allow Kog'Maw to pick it up en route to the dragon. What you want to do is slow push this wave. You do the Q pass through, you just kill the casters, and then you pause for a moment and you hold the wave hostage. It's not going to deal any more meaningful damage to your minions. You can wait, you hold it. Instead, by fast pushing it, you just give it to the enemy team. Jace picks it up en route. You know, it's just like part of their own momentum. They come up here, they get it very easily. So now they can step up and go. And now they actually have the inside track, right? They have a better view of the lane themselves. They can step up. The wards are all in the quadrant right now. We see the Weaver while splitting up the team. Yike actually has a very tough spot right here. Uses the ultimate. Everything's going to be tanked up by the Sejuani. Ben actually getting hit too, which is kind of bizarre. But that is one major resource being gone. Now the saplings are going to be the second part of this, right? You go stage 1, you push them out with your ultimate. Now it's got to be about saplings. Look at this control ward placement right here. They're making sure that they control this bush. Each time that you step behind it, if you're the team that has vision and they don't, You get to control that. All right, Poppy sends away the jacks. They're going to feel good about this all in. You have to fight all in. It has to be permanent uptime. Caps, you cannot retreat. Instead, they try to retreat, which means that they just walk into the hands of jacks. Once that Poppy ult hits, that is your best chance for the entire game to just take that fight. Take it right then with as many question marks as possible. And you just take that fight by stepping back. You allow jacks back into the fight. They end up just dying. You saw Hansama just walking back in to that area. Jax just takes him out for free. And now we have, what do we can have? All 5 people on Baron? I feel like that split calls on what they should do here. Normally you want to send one person with the wave, start pushing that in and get something for yourself. He actually teleported to come back into the fight. See, Hansama right here, that position wants to change. That's no good. Fight's moving this way. You need to start moving in, and your team needs to create a new line of scrimmage on the bottom half of the pit. Instead, they play the fight too passively with the Jax gone. Jax gets ulted away, teleports in, basically only misses 6 seconds of the fight and then comes right back in. But those 6 seconds are valuable. You need to use those. If you're G2, in any situation, especially when you're behind, that might be the only 6 seconds that you ever get. So you need to make the most of it. Your team needs to be ready. The call needs to be already in place. Hey, I'm going to aim this Keeper's Verdict at Jax, the biggest threat on their team. I'm going to try to send Jax away, and then we engage on the rest of them. I don't care what they have. We're throwing everything at them. Int to go forward. We can use Braum Shield to mitigate a lot of damage. Plus, we have the ultimate. All right, beautiful flank here by Yike. We have a chance to get on Desire. Uses the W. She uses the Feathers Fly to reposition, flashes away, doesn't have any continuation, but now so much has been used, which means Bin is the raid boss. They're going to go up and clean this fight up for themselves. Beautiful attempt by G2. I like the effort. I like the hustle, but it's just not enough. Too little, too late. See how On goes up, tanks a couple turret shots, uses the shield on the 3rd shot, steps back, come back in. These small little things, idiosyncrasies, are really important for being able to end the game in more pressured situations. This obviously not being one of them. They just annihilated this game. But here we go, going into game 2.